Welcome to another episode of Rim Shots with Sean right here in the Rock Rage Radio Network, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. With me, I have Andrew Kaden from Bury the Shadows, which is another one of our wonderful line of Curtain Call Records artists. Welcome, Andrew. How are you, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, plugging away on this gloomy day. So tell me a little bit about the band. I get some of the press information. Looks great. Material sounds great. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
We started the band probably right out of high school about 7 or 8 years ago. It's been more than 7 or 8 years ago, but we've been doing a lot of mixing up. So I think we finally kind of got what we needed about 7 or 8 years ago. And two guys, the drummer and the guitar player, we started this together. They needed a singer. Their singer kind of stood him up the night before a show, and I came over and sang a bunch of songs off of papers. I was reading lyric sheets, and after that, we did the next show, and just kept going from there, adding people. That's the thing about bands, is you're constantly changing stuff. But we started as Last Night's Entertainment, then we became Best Kept Secret. And now we're Bury the Shadows, and I think this is the one that sticks. And we just love to rock and roll.
I want to ask you about the name, because sometimes when you hear those names with like the three letters, you're going to get ultra heavy type bands, and you guys are kind of I see you guys as a groovy kind of riff band. I wouldn't put you as like a metal band. I'd put you in kind of not that metal's not catchy, but I mean, you guys write some catchy kind of groove tunes. Have you gotten any of that feedback where people go, "Man, we thought you were going to be super heavy," and we got that, and it was a neat surprise.
Yeah. Actually, we kind of mix it up a little bit. We do a little bit of everything. So some of our stuff can get kind of heavier, but most of the time, we're not that heavy. So people don't really realize that until they see us. They're like, "Oh, it's not a hard rock band."
So the band's been together for a little while. What led you to Curtain Call Records? I'd like to ask this question because every time that I talk to the Curtain Call artists, there's usually a little bit of a different story, but for the most part, the answer is the same at the end. So what led you guys to them?
Well, honestly, I just kept sending my stuff out. I kept sending our stuff out to everywhere. Anyone who would accept it, and they picked it up. John from Curtain Call, he picked it up. He's like, "Hey, man, this is really good stuff. We should talk about doing some more stuff." So that's kind of how we fell into it. We just kept knocking on doors, and he opened it. So.
Yeah, John's he's a good guy. I like his approach. I like how, all those artists that I talk to, they talk about things like, the ongoing proactive consultation with his artists, to make sure that things are going the way they want it to go. If I was to do a comparable, and I hate to do comparables, I always say this when I interview Curtain Call artists, but for me in order to, I guess, set the table for my viewers and my listeners and say, okay, you guys kind of sound like this, who would you guys maybe do a comparable with in terms of another artist?
Definitely big influences were like Papa Roach and Breaking Benjamin, kind of stuff like that when I was younger. But we kind of throw in a little bit of everything, so it's hard to really pinpoint that.
And so it's interesting because there's the genres of music, then there's the generational genres, right? So you have like, the 70s stuff where, it was like Zeppelin and Purple and those types of things. And you get into the 80s and it was, maybe more of I hate the term hair metal, but that, I grew up listening to that. And then you kind of had the grunge, and then the grunge morphed into the new metal and the emo and all that. That Breaking Benjamin, Papa Roach, Sean, is that kind of where you guys, learned your trade and kind of lived and breathed when you were coming up?
Yeah, straight in high school. We played a lot of Breaking Benjamin and some Papa Roach, and just everything, Puddle of Mud. Just kind of that kind of genre is what we stuck with, and then we threw in a little bit of blues here and there, and then we did some other groovy stuff. So we just like to change it up.
In terms of getting out and playing and doing shows and what have you, what's that looking like for you, or what's it looked like for you? I mean, I've talked to, some artists that, especially some people that are on majors that, they're recording projects, they're not really live projects. What's that look like for you guys?
Well, we're actually getting ready to do some live performances this year. I think starting out with March 1st and 2nd in Florida, Daytona during Bike Week. So pretty excited to go down there and show them what we're all about. From there, we're just kind of, I guess I heard a little bit about Michigan and Wyoming. We're just going to kind of hit everywhere in the United States this year. So
And I never even asked, you guys are based out of where?
Missouri, out of central Missouri, kind of by St. Louis.
Okay, so in terms of a scene, what's the music scene like in that part of the world?
Well, it's not too good. I don't think that there's really a big scene here. I mean, St. Louis, you can get some pretty good shows going, but it isn't anything like Chicago or Florida for sure.
Right. Um, so I mean, St. Louis, I guess, would be a bit of a throughput, and when people are touring, you can see some stuff there. But in terms of your town, I guess you're saying really not like, is there? wh- So where I live, I mean, it's a lot of cover bands. The original bands typically don't get to play for money; they get to play for exposure, which is kind of I don't like to say that, but is that kind of the case where you guys are at?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Because you have cover bands and they're going around, they charge bars and clubs and stuff, but they're playing music that everybody knows. And original bands, you don't really, I mean, we book shows, but it's not like we play an hour and then we're off. And we typically don't make very much money off of it. So there definitely isn't an original music scene around here. Especially, I grew up in a small town, so there really isn't anything here.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it tends to be the case in a lot of places, but I kind of have a belief that when music was taken away in 2020 and everybody was, oh, we're never going to take it for granted again, and now I feel it's being taken for granted a little bit. People are using excuses like, oh, well, I don't have money to go out yet. They're showing pictures of themselves in far off locations at major concerts and what have you. So I think it's a little bit messed up right now, and I think that this is just again my personal opinion, but some of the bands aren't, to me, doing a lot to try to win those hearts and minds back. They're just going up and playing. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, well, we do. We put everything out on the stage, so I mean, it's a rocking show from the time that we start to the time that we stop, and we're just there to put on a really good show. And it's all original. I mean, we throw in a couple covers, but it's who we are, and so if people connect to that, then everything goes good. So.
So over the next little bit, I mean, you mentioned the Biker Week show and what have you. What are 2025 plans? Everybody, 2024 was weird for a lot of people. I can personally vouch for that. I mean, the highs were great, the lows were the opposite. But what do you have for 2025?
Well, a lot of great things planned. A lot of great things, like I mentioned, Bike Week, and I'm not sure about Michigan or Wyoming. I'm not sure we're going to be playing that there yet, but we have some songs that we still need to finish in the recording studio in St. Louis. So we're just going to keep hitting it and keep playing. And people will come around. I'm hoping to make a great showing this year. So.
Fantastic. And attention spans being what they may, we always like to keep these quick hits so that they get the most out of it. So I'm going to ask you where my viewers, where my listeners find out more about you guys, how to get your music, find out about what you're up to.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Look us up, Bury the Shadows. We have Instagram, YouTube. We're on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, anywhere. Just search up Bury the Shadows and you can listen to our music.
Andrew, I want to thank you a lot for doing this, man. These are very important, I think, for Curtain Call Records artists, because we're introducing you not only people up here in Canada, but right around the world. So it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
Peace, my brother. We're back after this.